I'm Lucy.
And okay.
I've made friends with all the girls inside my head. I'll take all my secrets to the grave.
Hello, I'm Lucy.
And I'm Amy.
And together we are STaTiC. Mimi. We've got our mum over to the side. So also, if we look down here, it's because we've got some information that we wrote down because us and dates.
We will be able to remember it.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
So this is our first video on this channel. So this channel's gonna be a lot about like spooky goings on and
Supernatural.
That's a good word. It's a channel that we've wanted to do for a while, isn't it? And we wanted to do one together. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the history of where we were brought up and where we come from, which is actually a place in the West Midlands called Dudley. So Dudley is known for its like hauntings, and there's a lot of history to do with Dudley town itself, but specifically today we're going to focus on Dudley Castle, which is one of the main landmarks known for its hauntings, and it's somewhere that we used to visit all the time.
So, Dudley Castle is known to be one of the most haunted castles in England due to its impressive and long history. Many of the places within the town have featured on shows such as Most Haunted, for example. Hauntings at this castle specifically are known to date back to 1086. The castle was originally built in 1071 as a fortification, and then it was in 1130 that it was built into stone. However, it was then demolished in 1175 by the orders of King Henry II. This was caused by his feud and the castle owner and his rebellion against him.
So if you're watching this and don't know what a fortification is, it's basically like the beginning works.
It was basically a building of wood to kind of outline how the stone was going to be.
Carrying on now to 1246, they finally granted permission for the rebuilding after obviously King Henry II had wanted it demolished. But alongside that, he also now built two gatehouses that actually still stand there today and that you can still see. Following on, in 1321, building continued, but now with the de Suttons. So the de Suttons decided to then take ownership. However, then in 1536, John Dudley took over the castle and demanded it to be stripped back and rebuilt, but in this time into like a Renaissance style palace. So we wanted to make it a bit fancier. However, he was not actually able to see it turned into this Renaissance style palace, as shortly after he was executed. Now he was executed because he wanted to make his daughter-in-law, who is actually Lady Jane Grey, who we'll talk a little bit about after, he wanted to make her the queen. The castle, after all that happened, was then awarded to the Suttons by Queen Mary, and the castle was lately visited by Queen Elizabeth I, and it was thought about to be the place where Mary, the Queen of Scots, would then be imprisoned.
About Mary Queen of Scots? Did you not know? I did not know. You what? I lived here all my life. You lived here all your life and you did not know. So the Sutton family were in financial troubles and the castle wasn't there for much longer. Edward Sutton III solved his family's financial problems by arranging the marriage of his granddaughter and heir, Francis Sutton, to Humble Ward, the son of a wealthy merchant.
The castle actually remained in the Ward family until the Civil War, when it was held by royalists. However, in 1646, the castle unfortunately fell into the hands of parliamentarians, and this is when the castle's fortifications were once again removed, and this was in 1647. but now it currently stands just as it did in 1647.
That's pretty cool.
I think that's pretty
To
cool.
think it's lasted all those times. I know it's obviously in ruin, and it was ruined in 1647, but it hasn't changed the slightest apart from the zoo and stuff being built around it. So the castle now stands as the central attraction of what I just said, basically, in the middle of Dudley Zoo. It was built around it.
So the zoo actually was founded in 1935, which is less than 100 years ago, and opened to the public in 1937, which is, it doesn't seem that long ago. So now we're going to speak a little bit more. We've done the history about the ghosts, to be specific. I think this one we're going to talk about now is probably the most common and the most seen. She's spotted practically everywhere by everyone.
She was spotted. Mom, you can't do that.
So this ghost that we're going to talk about is commonly known as the Grey Lady. So the Grey Lady, like I said, is known as one of the most common ghosts that haunt Dudley Castle. So the Grey Lady was officially known as Dorothy
Beaumont.
It would be Beaumont.
Beaumont.
something like that. Well, anyway, she was the wife of John Beaumont. And she lived there within the castle for multiple years, and she actually birthed her first child there. So after she birthed it in 1645, her daughter unfortunately only lived for a couple of months. Now, some people say she lived for a couple of hours. Some people say that her daughter lived for a couple of months. But it was a very short time, and then she did pass away. Now, her daughter, who she'd called Frances, was actually buried at St Edmund's Church. But to locals, we all know it as Bottom Church because it's at the bottom of a massive hill within our Dudley town.
So it was said that Dorothy never got over the passing of her daughter, and shortly passed away 7 months later on April 26th, 1646. One of her dying wishes was to be buried next to her daughter. However, the commander of the royalist forces had the church destroyed within the period between their deaths, including the child's grave. Dorothy's body was permitted to be taken to St Thomas's Church, which is known to the locals as Top Church because it's at the top of that hill that Lucy was just on about.
Dorothy's body was quite early on. We didn't look up the date for this because bad researchers. But
It's the first video, let us off.
she was actually moved from
Yeah.
there, so her grave is no longer there, which
Because
is
we
really
was thinking
unfortunate.
maybe we could go visit her grave.
Yeah, but we couldn't get there.
But obviously couldn't.
Because she was unable to have one of her wishes granted, it is said that because her spirit is now so restless, it's gone back to the castle to try and find her lost daughter. So it roams around in and out of the castle on hunt for her missing daughter.
On a number of occasions after the ghost tours that the zoo do, the public have asked why there's two actresses playing the Grey Lady during the ghost tour. Well, needless to say, on special Halloween haunted walks, there's only ever been just one actress
If
playing the
any.
Grey Lady. So who
Is a second.
is the second one?
So, quite a frequent occurrence is the confusion between three different ladies. So, when researching and finding facts, we got very confused at one point because people kept talking about these three women, and we were like, which one's actually the Grey Lady?
And
So I've always thought about the reports that are called the Grey Lady. I automatically refer to her as Lady Jane Grey because I've heard that name as well. So automatically you hear Grey and you put two and two together, but there are actually two different ladies. So Lady Jane Grey was also known as Lady Jane Dudley, and she was actually from London. But she, as was spoke about earlier, was actually the daughter-in-law of John Dudley. So she isn't the Grey Lady that is known to haunt Dudley Castle. So that's one confusion out of the way. Now there is another unknown old lady.
Yeah. Some people call her the old lady, just the old lady. Some people call her the medieval lady. Basically, there's this older woman who, the reports on her was that she was found hung from the battlements with her black cat dead underneath her. However, the stories, they're all unclear. There are different variations. There's one story that she went and she found her cat dead, killed by youths, so she then hung herself. Some say she was found hung with the cat already dead underneath her. Others say youths actually killed her and her cat. So it's the same sort of story but different variations. We couldn't really figure out. But apparently an old lady is seen.
The next couple of ghosts that we're going to talk about, the stories aren't as long because there's just not as much written on them.
And with everything being closed because of lockdown, we couldn't really go to the library or the archives because they were shut. The next one is quite well known as well. It's about a little drummer boy. He's a very popular ghost known in the castle. You'll tend to see him in the archway as you go through into the castle grounds. And he was known to be around during the Civil War.
Yeah, so the young boy was said to be killed during a skirmish, and that he was killed by a single bullet from a firearm that was invented in the 17th century, which was a musket, and it is known to be one of the most inaccurate firearms ever invented. He was killed by just one single bullet as well. Now, he's often heard at night times, and zookeepers have even reported that themselves have heard this. And like Amy said, it all happened under this old archway. And you can hear him apparently banging on his drum as if he's in battle.
If you hear him or see him, it is commonly known to the locals, to the staff there, that soon after you will receive bad luck if you see or hear him. And some seem to think that it's because of the way he died, the way he passed.
Moving on to the next story. This is about a man called Lord John Summery. So, there's actually a place underneath the castle which is known to be one of the most haunted locations, and it goes by the name of the Chapel Undercroft. So, underneath this Chapel Undercroft, there's an ancient looking room, and in that room is just placed a stone coffin. Now, it is believed that this stone coffin once actually held this Lord John Summery, which is known to be one of the most feared outlords.
And on many occasions, the staff and the public have reported to have seen a pair of legs beside the coffin, but there isn't any torso or anything with it, and people strongly believe that it is John himself.
There has been other reports, including people feeling like they're having their clothes tugged, or that they're being poked, or that their bodies are being poked and stuff like that. And on one specific occasion, it's also said that a chair was flipped and that a dark shadowy figure was captured on a camera, but yet there was no one close by at all.
People have also reported grinding sounds and noises coming from the chapel that's above it. However, when they go to investigate, there's nothing there. There's nothing to cause a grinding noise.
I feel like this one, it's also hard though, because are people just saying things now to add scare? Like, you don't know what's fact and what's fiction, because Lord John Summery is mentioned nowhere else in the history. So where is this feared lord come from?
There is a smaller story that I found as well, and all it is apparently there's spirits of an old man and an old woman, and they go arm in arm walking around the castle grounds together. And if you see them, they might walk past you and like nod their head to you or like look over your way, but then they'll just carry on walking. And that's all we could really find about that.
Yeah, but I think a lot of them, apart from the Grey Lady, a lot of it is just speculation.
Yeah.
The common ones I can understand, but these small ones, it's like, is it true? Is it not? But yeah, we had a lot of fun filming this video anyway.
Kind of took us back to our childhood.
Yeah.
Things change, things happen, you grow, you forget things.
Yeah.
So it was fun looking up things and going back to our roots.
Yeah, and kind of finding out things that we didn't even like know. Like, I didn't
Yeah,
realise there was so much that we didn't know about it.
Yeah.
We hope you enjoyed anyway. Make sure to follow both of our social medias. They'll be here and here.
Yes. And the STaTiC social media.
Yeah, and the STaTiC social media as well. All our social medias will be linked down below, including our mum's social media as well. We hope you enjoyed this video. But,
Yes.
But from me,
Abby.
we'll see you again soon. Bye.